Well, hey, everybody, you're here early. Wanted to welcome you and give you a little treat as people are coming in. Got a lot of requests during the last session for having me play something. So I went and grabbed something I haven't played in a while, but this is a song I wrote back in 2003, actually, just thinking about getting married at some point, and actually getting married happened later than I thought it was, but it's still a good song, so I thought I'd maybe sing it for you guys. So yeah, hopefully this is coming through okay, and if not, we're just gonna keep going. You can kind of pretend. Spent my whole lifetime just searching for the one who'd be my wife, giving up the hope that you were somewhere out there. Well, God, bring you into my life. God's grace was sitting, waiting, even though I don't know why. It'd be so blessed in all of this, and it'd bring you by and by. Oh, could you be my angel? Oh, could you be my surprise? Either way, I know not of it. I just thank God you're in my life. Times will come, we'll rise above it, standing firmly side by side, in the grace that covers both of us, because you came into my life. I was shocked and a bit amazed that you gave me the time of day, and I almost didn't notice that you'd never walk away. God has blessed me with so much I can say, that when I look into your eyes, I see heaven and its glory, and I'm so glad that you're mine. Oh, could you be my angel? Oh, could you be my surprise? Either way, I know not of it. I just thank God you're in my life. The times will come, we'll rise above it, standing firmly side by side, in the grace that covers both of us, because you came into my life. We have a hard, share hard times, it's hard to disagree. God is watching over us, and He's brought you here to me. I look at you and I'm still in awe of how much we fit together. Because of this, I know it's true. We can ride out any weather. Oh, could you be my angel? Oh, could you be my surprise? Either way, I know not of it. I just thank God you're in my life. Times will come, we'll rise above it, standing firmly side by side, in the grace that covers both of us, because you came into my life.
Take it away.
Oh, DJ. Wow. That was awesome. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed that song, and also I hope you enjoyed the sponsor sessions. Next up, we're going to have the DJ, who is a Nashville CUGC leader, independent contractor. DJ will be presenting on how mentoring enhanced my career. A little side note, I met DJ years ago at a Synergy, and even back then he was already talking about mentoring people, and he's just after this passion, so I really appreciate him for that. Moving on, we're going to ask a few trivia questions so you guys can win some great gifts. And so we just let's just move on with these questions. Okay, just as a reminder, guys, put in your answers in the group chat and not in the Q&A. So we'll only taking answers from the group chat. Right, so question one, what goes up and down but still remains in the same place? And what goes up and down but still remains in the same place? Okay, I think we have answered there. I think we're going to give that to Jeffrey. Okay, answer is stairs or mountains. Okay, if you're the winner, please send an email to Katie. We're going to put her email in the chat. If you don't already have it. Okay, second question. What can go through glass without breaking it? What can go through glass without breaking it? I think you guys got it. Okay, Steve. That's right. So it's light. Okay, which month do people sleep the least? This one might be a little tricky. Oh, look at that. Jerry got that one. Okay. Thank you everyone for playing along. I'm going to hand this over to DJ. DJ, it's all yours.
All right. Cool. Well, I think I see people here, but as always, go ahead and say hi in the group chat there. If you have any questions during the midst of the presentation, feel free to put those into the Q&A box there. But yeah, love hearing from you. And keep in mind, there's a little bit of a delay with the comments and questions. So it helps me out a lot. If you have a question, to give me some context about what you're asking. So if you say about X and then your question, that'll help a great deal. Also, if you guys hear any weirdness, let me know. I've got air conditioning running because it is a very hot day here in Nashville. So hopefully my noise cancellation is working properly, but that'll work. So here we go. Let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, it's good. It's good. It's good. Okay. Once again, my name is DJ Eshelman. I am a lot of things these days. I'm the leader of the Nashville CUGC, along with Patrick Coble, independent consultant. I've been doing a lot more writing and things like that. We'll talk a little bit about that soon. But honestly, I like to think of myself as a coach and a mentor, and that's really why I wanted to do this presentation. So I'm really glad that we're having these conversations these days that are more oriented towards how to survive in IT, not just the tech skills. And so I really want to applaud CUGC for embracing this and for giving me a platform today. I really appreciate that. So let's get down to it. So today we are talking about mentoring and the oh yeah, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong window. I'm looking at the preview, not the actual thing. So as we're going along here, hopefully that won't happen too often. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to change the size of these things on my side, and so I don't get that confusion again. I apologize. Okay, so mentoring, or more appropriately, how being mentored and mentoring has been a kind of watershed thing for my career and has been really super, super important. So here we go along the launch path here. Okay, so I've been saying this on LinkedIn for the last few days, and that is that to succeed in IT, there's a couple of things you really need that are beyond technology. In fact, I view technology is really the minimum requirement of what is required to get ahead on your job. There's this myth going around that, and it's a natural myth if you're not told otherwise, that if you just learn more things, then you will get more stuff. And that might be true at a certain level, but really once you get up to a point in your career, that's just no longer true, and you find that you need other things. And we'll talk more about that soon. But technology is a minimum requirement. And what you really need to really hone in on a good career is, I find, three things. One is it's all about your mindset, right? That's your mental thinking about things, the way you approach things. It's not just positive mental attitude. It's a lot more than just that. It's that you can and should be successful. The other thing that I find is really important, and we're talking about today, is mentoring. And then the other key is having a methodology or a way to go about doing things, which is something that I'm focused in on a lot lately as well. But I wanted to kind of go through and tell a story, and the story of my career, not my music career, but my actual IT career. And I'll show you some ways that mentoring worked for me, and I'll show you how that mentoring has been actually quite a key in the times I've been successful and not successful. So I started, like I said earlier today, around 1997, 98, in a small internet service provider in Hastings, Nebraska. I went to an internship, which is a kind of mentoring in a way, learning how to work and interact in a more corporate environment. In around 2000, I worked for this little company called Compaq, right before they were bought by HP, and I bolted. And then from about that time to 2001, I was just kind of trying to find my way, just doing freelancing and stuff like that, everything from web design to, I had a little company I called JIT Tech, or Just in Time Technology, where I thought it'd be a good idea to have a company where I just, was there for people as rapidly as possible. Turns out that's not a good idea. But anyway, next stage of my career, next big leap, though, came when a company called Kinko's here in the United States needed some teams to go and install these credit card readers on all of their copiers and computer systems across the entire country. And so I was selected as one of, I believe, 4 or 5 different teams across the nation assigned to various regions, and started traveling the country installing these systems for Kinko's, which right after what I was going through actually became FedEx Office. But that's another story for another day. But this was my first time truly being mentored outside of just the work. This is when I started learning about things in terms of travel and kind of those on-the-job trainings, where you just have to learn the expectations that management has. In travel, there's a lot of things where you need to learn the ropes of that, and have a lot of questions and answers, and need feedback from people too. So it's very important. And so my team lead was actually somebody who would take the time to answer my questions, and we could dialogue. And actually that became a good mentoring relationship, not only for learning about traveling, but also because right after that, I was recommended to take on the team lead position after he stepped down. And so he actually put me in ahead of someone else that was on our team. And I firmly believe that it was because I had that position of openness and wanting to be mentored, that was a major reason for that. So I took on that as team lead for about 4 months, or after about 4 months, I should say, on his recommendation. And later on, it actually turned into the first time I actually had to fire somebody. It's an experience that I don't ever recommend for anybody, but it is something that I did have to do at one point, and it was not pleasant. But that was showing me kind of a contrast of people that were stubborn, and actually he was lying to me about a lot of things, and so we had to let him go. But that was a bad example. But what I will say about this is, in all the good and all the bad, that putting myself in that mentoring situation jumped me up from $15 an hour to $35 an hour for this contract. Now I want you to know something here. Nothing about my technological skills or anything like that increased. It was just putting myself in a relationship to be mentored to be a better person in IT. And so that's a really key thing to look at here, because mentoring isn't necessarily training. You want to look for, when you're looking for a mentor, that kind of heart-to-heart connection. Those discussions that are like, okay, how can you adapt to this situation? How can you be a better person in this situation? Not just, here's the technology to learn. Like I said, knowledge is a minimum, not the what gets you there. I figure, learn on your own time as far as the technology goes. Be mentored to figure out the soft skills and things like that you need to learn, and look for lessons. Look for things that they are done in their career, or things that they can kind of imbue you with that collective. It's like, I call it a tribe of mentors kind of concept, where you just get a collection of experiences that are not your own, that actually give you the next thing in life. So I want to go through a time right after that. Unfortunately, when that contract ended, it was about 2003, which, for those of you that recall, that was kind of a rough time economically. And unfortunately, I bore the brunt of that, and also had a failed engagement. Actually, the behind the scenes here is that the song I just wrote or just played was written for my ex-fiance. So it was a little awkward to go through all that and be depressed and all that kind of bad stuff. But it was also an opportunity for me to branch out and do some other things. And so for those of you that were on the first little session there, I've been a DJ for several years. And so I actually went to work for a mobile disc jockey company, and very quickly they found that I was someone who could train others, mentor others, and be a good resource. And so I actually was promoted to management in that, which, just spoiler alert, managers don't always make good mentors. They make good for like telling you what should be done, not necessarily how. It's not necessarily their strong suit, and I found that out to be true. And managing that was actually not my ideal path, but it was where I went from there. But unfortunately, a lot of this really is a down point, because I was trying to go it alone. I didn't really reach out to a lot of people to figure out how to get out of this. So at one point during that whole time, here I am managing a DJ company, or at least a small one in northern Colorado, and I'm living out of my car. So not ideal. So definitely a low point. But there was some mentoring involved, which was really good. And I think that those lessons learned, those being willing to be somebody who's pouring into others, was an important lesson for me to learn. And so eventually I did kind of break out of it and get to a small company in Denver. And that is where I like to joke. I don't know if you have the slides big enough to see this. Hopefully, you can actually increase the size of the slides. But the term that I've come to refer to this as is voluntold. When you're volunteered or told to do something at the same time, you're not really able to say anything about it. You're just doing it. And so with Citrix, I was voluntold to learn Citrix for a law firm. And so I just kind of had to do it from there. And, you know, it was good. It was, for me, I think it tapped into something that was at my core, something with end user computing that I prefer working that way. And so it was good to get that introduction. Just the method wasn't great. And kind of, in 2004, I kind of actually fell into a bit of another depressive cycle and was voluntold to leave that company. So not exactly great there, but there was no mentoring there for me. There was no one that I could reach out to and figure out how to do this. It was the first time I'd worked for a vendor partner like that before. And so it was really a rough learning experience, and one that ultimately I don't think of very fondly, except for the fact that it was my introduction to Citrix. So after that, somebody spotted a resume and I happened to put Citrix on there because I'd had like, you know, a couple of weeks of doing it. And next thing you know, I'm managing Citrix farms for 11 plus different companies for another partner in Fort Collins, Colorado. And eventually led up to the point of getting a larger contract and kind of breaking out of that. But again, that was kind of just a steady line as far as career growth, right? There wasn't really much as far as any kind of increases in my career pay. I was kind of hit a glass ceiling from day one in that company because it was so small. But eventually I broke out of that in 2010 and actually did a larger contract. But really the process of this was not pleasant. I didn't really have any telling me how to grow in Citrix or in any of the methodology associated with IT. I just kind of had to learn the hard way by reading blogs and books that I could find. And honestly, like I said, my income just kind of stagnated. And there's some important things about this. One, going it alone, it might be noble in some ways, but just like I was talking about this morning, if you don't have a teacher or mentor, all these kind of things, then you're really just kind of stuck learning the hard way. And in my case, learning with customers that were, pardon me, yeah, I was kind of learning at their expense, so it wasn't great. But for my first contract, there was some good things with that, but I was also out of my depth with that as well, and didn't really have anybody to mentor me. So it's yeah, kind of rough with that goes. But so anyway, as far as the next steps with that, you'll have to excuse me. I have a little thing in my throat here. Hopefully that'll help that. So my next step was to actually become a resident consultant with, actually technically just a bench consultant with Citrix, and later on became a independent or a resident consultant with them as well. Even though I'm working independently, I'm still kind of on their regular roster, so as a third-party employee kind of a thing. And so the great thing about that was that I had the opportunity to start leading projects, which actually did increase my income and demand a bit. And I say these with U.S. numbers, and I say these not to say that you'll be anything like this or this will be your experience. I'm just saying this is literally what happened with me. So I'm putting these things out there for that reason, just to be completely transparent. But what I found very quickly in 2011 is that I knew every bit about the technology I pretty much could. I'd hit a point of there wasn't really much more to learn in a practical sense. There was updates and things like that, but I really had that ceiling moment, and I found that being an expert wasn't enough. What I really needed to do was mentor, and when I became a resident, there was an expectation that I would start not only leading teams, but actually be a mentor with the teams and the consultants that I was working with that were more junior in the field and that sort of thing, and they needed some career guidance along the way. It wasn't just like oh, here, you go out in the field and you just do your thing. No, Citrix actually wanted them to grow as consultants and as people. And so there was a lot of goal setting and things like that happened with that. And I kind of got a crash course in how to mentor during this process. It was kind of rough. In fact, it was going to be fun. Next this upcoming Thursday on the Thrivecast thing we do on YouTube. We're going to have Nick Renselin on, and we're going to talk. We want to talk a little bit about that rough period too, and maybe we can reminisce a little bit about how it was to have somebody kind of old dog, new tricks kind of thing as far as mentoring others. But it was great to embrace that. And when I did, it actually bumped up my demand level and my income level jumped up as a result. And so that's, if you're not getting the point here, that's a big reason. But I learned to encourage my mentees to find solutions instead of giving the solution right away. In other words, I stopped trying to be a teacher and started trying to encourage them to actually find a solution. And that was actually a key thing that came into my head that actually had some really big impacts on my demand, actually. It was weird. I never expected that, but all of a sudden, I'm the person that's in demand, not because of anything I know about technology, but because I'm helping others and I'm valuable to that for that regard is not just because of what I knew technology-wise. So very important. But by 2016, I'm kind of hitting a bit of a I don't want to say a ceiling, but it was a pinnacle point, and I started to actually work more on developing a framework or a methodology, if you will. And I had the fortunate experience in 2017 of going to work as a director of technology of a firm here in Nashville, and actually was leading teams completely, project teams, sales teams, all that kind of stuff, and was able to not only teach them, but give them feedback, give them weekly goals, quarterly goals, and things like that, all because of what I've learned. And that was a great opportunity, mostly because through part of the year I was still consulting, and then having a salary, benefits, commissions, all that kind of stuff. Lots of goodness comes when you are pouring into others, I swear it, which is a great thing. So I wanted to kind of go through what the methods maketh mentor is what I say here. So first off, we have I'll just read this off the screen. It's kind of gauche, but I'll do it anyway. A person with more experience in the way things should be that is willing and capable of guiding others towards a person's success or reaching desired outcomes. In other words, what you want to look for in a mentor is somebody that is more experienced in these things and is willing and capable. Don't try and force someone to be a mentor that's not really built for it or doesn't want to be. There are several in our community that I look up to greatly and I think are great, but they don't really want to be a mentor necessarily. They would rather teach, but they don't want to be a mentor. And they're very different things. So keep that in mind. The other piece of this is that a good mentor will guide the people they're mentoring to conclusions, like I was saying. Instead of just giving them solutions, they're guiding them so they can understand for themselves. There's nothing more powerful in a person's life than seeing the application of a lesson and actually being a part of that process of determining it. But a mentor is not a trainer. It's not somebody that's going to teach you everything you need to know. That's not their primary role. They might have lessons they teach, but that's not really what you're looking for in a mentor as a teacher. So another kind of differentiator here is I do a lot of coaching. Interestingly enough, like a good coach, a mentor will help the mentee identify areas for improvement. Unlike a coach, a mentor often has some standards or a company they're working with or an organization that they're actually looking for somebody who's being mentored to grow into that specifically. And so that is another very valid type of mentoring. So say, for example, you want to be mentored in how to be a CTA or a CTP. Well, there's certain standards that come with that. And so you would want to work with people to find out what those standards are and find out how to live up to those, that sort of thing. So if that's a good example. Or sometimes in your company, you might be assigned a mentor that's going to put you on a path to growth, like if you want to get into a senior position or management or whatever that looks like. A lot of times you might have a mentor that is kind of helping you get there, but also evaluating your capabilities as far as that goes. But the Webster's, or like, I'm not sure if it's Webster, but whatever dictionary definition of this is, a mentor is an experienced and trusted advisor, not advisor. In other words, that's the verb advisor. So, as I take another drink here, sorry. That tickle just keeps coming back. So here's what we want to do. We want to first find someone to work with as a mentor. And I think there's three kind of key things here to look for. You want to look for a mentor to guide your learning and growth, not just teach you directly. In other words, they might point you towards a resource and say, hey, you should look into this. But honestly, it's not their job to help you, to teach you directly. That's not a good use of their time. Find a good mentor. You can look for somebody or ask others who's mentored them, and get suggestions on who might work for you, because not every mentor works for every person, right? So trust but verify is what I often say when it comes to taking advice of a mentor. That's why I say you should have a tribe of mentors, not just one. Get a sense of what's going to work for you and kind of verify that the things are good. I mean, not every mentor is perfect, right? Actually, I would say no such thing as a perfect mentor. A blind guide is no guide at all. So not every person really should be mentoring, like I was saying. The other thing is there are a lot of people just here in Citrix user community that you can reach out to. Any of the CTAs, CTPs, there's the Women in Tech program and things like that. There's a lot of other things you can do and just put things out there. But make sure you're not just looking for tech guidance, that you're actually looking for career or growth or whatever it is you want to do. We're going to talk about goals here in a minute, but make sure that that's a priority. The other thing is make sure you're growing. And the way to do this is, like I was saying earlier in my thing, lessons learned, drop that pride. That pride is not going to do you any good. So you may know everything there is to know about a technology, but if you don't know how to adopt certain other soft skills, you're not going to get anywhere. In fact, a lot of times I find people that are very much knowledgeable in the technology, but to be blunt, they're a jerk. And that does not work in the technology world. It'll only get you so far. So if you want to grow beyond that, you need to drop the pride and be open to being mentored. I remember there were rapid acceleration points in my career. And those really were those times where I dropped my pride and said, okay, I need to learn more about this. And I need to learn what it is to be who I want to be. And that took dropping the pride and getting mentored. Please respect your mentor's investment of time. Keep your appointments. If you want one thing that irritates me more than anything else, it's when people make an appointment with me and then they don't even show up. Or they consistently cancel the appointments. That actually does irritate me a great deal. It tells me that my time is not very valuable to you, is what that says to me. So you want to be very, very respectful of your mentor's time. And remember that you're the one doing the work here, not them. You have to make it as easy and possible for them as practical. But I want to talk about goal setting, because that's another really important thing when it comes to this whole process here. And that is that, smarter goals. Smart goals you might have heard of. Smarter goals is something that I'm actually going to credit one of my virtual mentors with, the guy that kind of ended up convincing me, not in an odd sort of way, convincing me offhand to move to Nashville as a suggestion. I said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So smarter goals are something that has been developed by a man named Michael Hyatt. Actually, there's plenty of people who have done things like this, but the ones I use are by Michael Hyatt. And see if I can get that link to show up here. I'll get it in a minute. S stands for specific. So your goals must identify exactly what you want to accomplish in as much specificity as you can muster. In other words, setting a goal to lose weight is not very specific. Losing 20 pounds is specific. Getting a senior engineer position is specific. Getting a raise or getting a promotion is not. So be specific about what you want. Next, measurable. The old adage says, you can't manage what you can't measure. And it's very true. If possible, try to quantify the results. If you want to know absolutely positively whether or not you hit the goal. In other words, it's something that is measurable. And I apologize. I had a note on here that's not showing for me. So give me a moment here. These slide notes. There we go. My bad, guys. Hopefully you still see me. I had this weird alert jump on my screen when I pushed that. So hopefully you're still seeing the slides. Okay, it looks like it's okay. So, okay, good. So the other piece of the actionable is that, or sorry, of a measurable is, yeah, okay, we're gonna skip that. It's not important. Sorry, guys. Weird things popping all over the screen here on this. But actionable is the next step. So that's the A in smarter. And every goal should have an action verb, quit doing this, go for a run, finish this thing, eliminate whatever process, rather than, other non-specific words or non-actionable words like, get a raise or whatever, is not very good. Like get a promotion is not really is good, but work with a mentor every week to learn how to get promoted is. So there we go. Let's see. So risky is another one. So this is one that's kind of tough for people sometimes, I think. Risky is something where if you want to go somewhere, you have to get past your comfort zone. And sometimes we think that things will just happen for us. And trust me, the things that just happen, you don't necessarily always want. Setting goals is much more important, and setting risky goals that actually stretch you are really important. So like say, for example, a non-risky goal is get a raise of 3%. Well, most of us know that most inflation follows about that much. Getting a raise of 3% is pretty much the minimum. So setting that as a goal isn't very risky. But show the value needed to justify a 25% increase in your pay. Well, now that's a risky goal. And that's really important to take those risks and do that. So the next is time keyed. In other words, you want to have a time frame for what's going on here. So a date is usually the best thing, or a time, something like that. Again, it's bad to say I want a promotion, but it's good to say I want to get senior engineer position by December 1st or October 1st or whatever, and kind of key that in so you've got something to go for. It works well in projects too, by the way. Having smarter goals actually does work in projects. So that's the T in SMART. So the ER thing is exciting. If you're not personally excited about achieving this goal, it's not worth doing. It's not worth setting a goal for. It really is just a task at that point. It's not a goal. And so really, if you don't have that motivation, again, going way back to the first part of the presentation, mindset is a very important thing in IT even. And so if you don't have that excitement about what you're doing, you need to reevaluate what you're doing. And so setting a goal for something you're not excited about is really not something I ever recommend. So there's going to be a lot of things too outside of just career goals and things like that. So for example, taking a vacation is an exciting goal. A little bit. Taking a 2-week vacation to Italy, well, that's a much more exciting goal. And so it's something you get a little more excited about. It's outside of the norm. So make sure you're setting exciting goals for yourself. The other thing is they should be relevant. Align your goals with where you're going in life and what you want out of life and who you are in life. This bothers me a lot. I'll be honest with you. I'm in contact with people that will always say things like, well, I want to be an architect because that's the highest you can go with technology. And I always stop them and say, that's not actually true. It's not true that that's the only way you can go. It's not the highest. It's not the way to get highest pay or something like that. If you're not really into that kind of way of working, then being promoted to an architect is the worst thing for you. Trust me, I've watched it happen. A lot of times people would just be much happier doing administration work instead of some of the politics and things like that are involved with that. So they need to be relevant to your goals and the way you would want to be and to your mission overall. And there's the URL, sorry, that was supposed to be earlier in the presentation. So michaelhyatt.com/goal setting to grab that. article and grab that resource. Let's see. So let's get back to the other two big tips as far as mentoring goes, and that is to lead. Once you've been mentored, you should take it on to lead others as well. And that's not necessarily mean you're mentoring. It means leading as a step into mentoring. And so as you're being mentored, look for ways to show leadership within that. It's very important not to just simply take it as it is and just say you're going to jump from one to the other. Look for ways to show leadership. The other thing is the greatest credit you can give to your mentor is honestly to lead others in this regards. So whether that's through projects or whatever, leading others really just makes your mentor feel good when they see you do those kind of things, when they see you inspiring others to go beyond their own whatevers. It's very important. So it's good stuff. The other thing is asking for feedback. Not only from your mentor, but from others during your process. If others are seeing changes in you, getting their feedback is actually kind of important. So getting that actually helps helps a great deal. And that's actually a big part of what I was able to improve, not only dropping the pride, but getting feedback, not only from the people that I was being mentored by, but from other peers as well that were saying, DJ, I've noticed a lot of difference in you. You're really a lot more effective in these kind of areas. And, it helps. So, integrating that feedback is good, but diversity in feedback is really the best way to discover your true path. Diversity in mentoring is another great way to decide your great path. As you'll find a lot of times when you're being mentored in something, you may not really want to go forward with that anymore. And so that may not be for you. And finally, as I said earlier, one of the best ways to assure your career goes further and further and further is to actually be a mentor and pay it forward. Everyone has something to teach. That's true. Even small things can be taught. But actually doing the job of mentoring and going beyond teaching and getting people to take on their own path and guiding them towards that and being that encouragement is huge. That's absolutely one of those things where you will find success. It's not like these people are going to take it from you. So there's that getting rid of that scarcity mindset is actually pretty important. But learning how to mentor as well. It's not a perfect game. People aren't born mentors. Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of people that really do need to not be mentors. There's a lot of people that are mentors that need to teach others how they do it. So watch your mentor as they're working with you and figure out if that's something that works for you and how you could do that as well. Being inspired to make your own is always a good thing when it comes to any strategy. Otherwise, it doesn't really resonate. Now, remember, mentoring is tied to the biggest advances in my career, the most dramatic, the most long-lasting, and honestly, the trajectory that I'm on right now is very much that. And so I wanted to kind of put up for a review everything here, but I wanted to kind of show you what happened next. So I left off the story in 2017. What I didn't say with that is that, and I did a whole YouTube episode about this too, but getting let go from that because of a silly mistake and things like that hurt. But I actually had the opportunity to go back into consulting and find that just consulting wasn't good enough for me. It was a good revelation that I had, and I said, you know what, I need to start working on mentoring not just my people that work with me, but others as well. And that's why a lot of the stuff that I've been doing now has been born, is out of that realization that, look, just delivering the technology, it's not like I can't do it. It's just not my primary passion anymore. And I needed to jump into that. And so that's why I've been doing all the things that I've done in the last few years, is mentoring companies, mentoring individuals, doing the coaching, and actually last year I actually started doing personal coaching as well. So it's not just people in technology that I'm coaching as well. So it's been a very fascinating journey for that, and it's only going up from here. I'm really excited about the future and what's going to be held here. What'd you do during quarantine? Well, I wrote 2 books. It's kind of my attitude lately. It's kind of crazy. Like, how is this really a thing? But that's exactly what's happening. So it's sort of like both training and mentoring from a distance, and it's been great to walk into that. But also we've got other things going too, learning opportunities, and actually I'm able to mentor and coach people through building their own platforms and things like that as well, which is fantastic. There's going to be more and more and more and more and more coming. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're just launching, actually we'll talk about this in a minute, but a site called thriveit.com, which is going to be just fantastic. I'm so excited about this. But a couple of things that are key here is that for me, more time mentoring means less time I have to do it myself. And so if I can mentor others to work more effectively, that means that's less that I have to do. It has meant more vacations, less working hours. Both being mentored and mentoring has had those kind of things. The revenue thing is one thing. It's great to have more pay for what I'm doing, but I'm working a lot less. I'm working a lot. I'm just not having to do all the things. So let's give an example here. Hopefully people remember the movie The Matrix, otherwise this might fall apart a bit. But it's important to remember this. And if you want to write this down or take a screenshot in a minute here, mentors aren't the hero of the story, even if they start as your hero. So even though in the movie The Matrix, Neo was the hero, and we kind of knew that going into it, as far as Neo was concerned, Morpheus was the hero. Morpheus was the guy he looked up to. Morpheus was the hero. But Morpheus didn't want to be the hero. He wanted to show Neo the path. Now, you recognize a lot of things that I thought were brilliant about this is that Morpheus didn't actually teach Neo. He plugged him into a machine. The machine taught him, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like all these different things. But he always said, okay, you learn Kung Fu. Show me. There's an example there that I think is really crucial. And so he gave that feedback and kind of repeated the cycle. In other words, your mentor should believe in you even more than you believe in them. And so my challenge, I want you to write this down, is to write down a list of 20 people that you would love to have as a guide. And looking for other ways to engage with a mentor, it's outside of just being better at work and getting promotions and more pay and things like that. That's not really the key here. But write down 20 people and just start going through that list and see who's willing. And that's very important. Actually, I'll back that up for just a second, let you take a screenshot of that. In 3, 2, 1. All right, so thank you so much for being here today and for listening to me go on about this. You can contact me at dj@thrive-it.com. We have some websites still going. Website consolidation is in my future because 15 is way too many. But I'm really excited about Thrive IT. It's going to be a great project, and I'm really excited about it. I'm still on Twitter, even though I'm not as active as I have been in the past, but Citrix Coach for anything technical, or DJ Eshelman for anything kind of more personal related is how I kind of approach that. I do have a Facebook page. I don't know how to keep it on there. I think I just saw it on there and just did it, but whatever. Our YouTube channel, I'm super excited about. thrive-it.com/YT. We do a live show every Thursday. We want to see you part of that. Now, here's the thing. I'm doing something special just for CUGC. So I don't want you to share this publicly or anything like that. This is just for you guys for being in this presentation. What I've got is a bundle at thrive-it.com/CUGC book. And what this is a bundle of 3 books, actually. One is the Be a Citrix Hero book that I wrote earlier this year, and Just Do This on hardcover. Both of these will be signed and sent to you, and so that is where to get that. It's a huge deal. For the first, I think it's 80 or so people, I'll also include a book from one of my mentors named Dan Miller. It's called 48 Days to the Work You Love, and I'm really excited about that. So that is it for me. And I'm not seeing any questions, so that's interesting. So we'll probably just push that to the roundtables, I'm thinking.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed that, and really loved seeing you grow over the years. But we're moving on to our roundtable discussions. We have 5 topics you can choose from. A lot of presenters that you've seen already, and you can find these by clicking on the roundtable widget in the toolbar below, or you can go back to the lobby. You will be directed to a Zoom meeting where you can discuss a topic with others. Each roundtable has a dedicated moderator to keep things moving. Please return to the CUGC lobby at 4:10 p.m. We'll be giving prizes, and we'll be closing this conference. And we'll see you there, and come back for those prizes. And as I always say, you really have a great opportunity to win something. All right, I'll see you soon.
Cheers.